Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Sparkle English, where I help you improve your English skills. Today we're going to talk about two literary devices, alliteration and assonance. I'm going to teach you the difference between these literary devices and show you examples of how we use them. First of all, alliteration and assonance are literary devices that writers use to add rhythm to language. Both alliteration and assonance involve the repetition of sounds. However, they do this in different ways. First, let's talk about alliteration. What is it? Alliteration is when the same consonant sound is repeated at the start of words that are close together. It is commonly used in poetry and very popular tongue twisters. For example, I'm sure you've heard this before. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Many words in this sentence begin with the same consonant sound, the S sound. Sally sells seashells, seashore. Here's another example. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Again, we have the same consonant sound that's repeated at the beginning of words that are close together. Here's another example. Larry's lizard likes leaping leopards. So all three of these sentences contain alliteration. Now let's talk about assonance. And assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds within words that are close to each other. It's commonly used in poetry and prose. Here's a common example. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. You can notice in this sentence, we have the long A sound. Rain, Spain, stays, mainly, plain. Here's another example. The black cat sat on Jack's lap. Here we have the short A sound, ah, in black cat sat Jack lap. Here's another example. I feel the need for speed. We have the long E sound. So let's look at alliteration and assonance side by side. So again, alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of nearby words. Whereas assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds within nearby words, regardless of where the vowel appears in the word. So for example, Kate cooked carrots in Carl's kitchen. Notice that even though the consonant is different, Kate begins with a K and cooked begins with a C, what's important is the consonant sound, and both Kate and cooked begin with the hard K sound. So the most important thing is the consonant sound. It must be the same for it to count as alliteration. Here's an example of assonance. I spy a kite flying by in the bright sky. Here we have the long I sound. I spy, kite, fly, bright. Remember, the most important thing is the vowel sound. So kite has a long I sound, not a short I sound. Kit, it's kite. Okay? Here's another example. Silly Cindy skips swiftly through city streets. Again, here, even though silly begins with an S and Cindy begins with a C, we have the S sound. The consonant sound is the same. And here, another example of assonance. The horses neigh as they play in the hay. Here we have many examples of the long A sound, neigh, they, play, and hay. So the most important thing is the sound being the same, not that it's the same vowel or the same consonant. We also see a lot of examples of alliteration and assonance in brands because it's rhythmic, it sounds good. Here's an example. PayPal, pay and pal, both begin with the consonant P. It sounds good. This is an example of alliteration. Coca-Cola, we have the hard C sound, K. Best Buy, and here are some brand examples that contain assonance. Reese's Pieces. We have the long E sound, Reese's Pieces. YouTube. We have the U sound, YouTube. Okay, another example, Fruit Loops. Normally fruit is spelled with a U and an I, but it makes the U sound. So this is part of their branding. Now, what about combining alliteration with assonance? Is it possible? Well, yes, it is possible. Let's look at this sentence. On Monday, May made maple marmalade. I want you to take a second to look at this sentence and see if you can see examples of alliteration or assonance in this sentence. First, let's take a look at alliteration. Well, most of the words in this sentence begin with the consonant M. Monday, May, made, maple, marmalade. And we also have the long A sound. On Monday, May, made, maple, marmalade. Okay, so you can use literary devices in many different ways and combine them as well in sentences. But I hope this shows you the difference between these two literary devices. So now we're going to go on to a quiz, and you must identify if the sentence contains alliteration or assonance. Now, in this quiz, you don't have to look for examples of both alliteration or assonance. It should be quite obvious if the correct answer is one or the other. Let's begin. Number 1. Boys bounce basketballs between blue buildings. Number 2. Sarah's snake silently slithered. Number 3. Lee sees the leaves sweep across the street. Number 4. Mighty mountains make marvelous monuments. Number 5. Betty baked a big batch of buttered biscuits. Number 6. Mike likes to ride his bike. And finally, number 7. The blue moon looms over the dunes. So let's identify alliteration or assonance in these sentences, starting with number 1. Number 1, the correct answer is alliteration. All of the words in this sentence begin with the consonant B and have the B sound, B. Boys bounce basketballs. So that's alliteration. Number 2 is also alliteration. The words in this sentence begin with the consonant S and have the S sound. Now, number 3 is an example of assonance. Now, what vowel sound are we seeing repeated in this sentence? The long E sound. Lee, see, leaves, sweep, street. Number 4, we have another example of alliteration because we have the consonant M sound. M. Mighty mountains make marvelous monuments. And again, alliteration is used in number 5. Betty baked a big batch of buttered biscuits. And again, every word in the sentence does not have to begin with the same consonant sound for it to be considered an example of alliteration. In sentences 1, 2, and 4, every word begins with the same consonant sound. However, in number 5, and of do not begin with the B sound, and this is still an example of alliteration. Now, number 6 is another example of assonance. What vowel sound is repeated throughout this sentence? The long I sound. Mike, like, ride, bike. Okay? And finally, number 7 is also an example of assonance. We have the oo sound repeated. Blue, moon, looms, dunes. Okay, so let me know in the comments section how many you were able to identify correctly out of 7. And I also encourage you guys to practice using alliteration or assonance by creating a fun little sentence in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next lesson.